So, coming into a comfortable position for you, which can be a variety of different ways. So, in the early stages of pregnancy, you might find that sitting cross-legged is comfortable. You might find sitting back against the wall gives you some support. Also, maybe sitting on a block or a rolled up blanket so that your pelvis slightly rotates forwards to stop you from slumping backwards. So we're going to be talking a lot about the upper back tonight. And one of the worst things you can do, the upper back, and actually one of the worst things you can do when you're pregnant is to sit back on your sacrum, because then you pull all of these muscles. So ideally the pelvis needs to go over, it kind of needs to tilt slightly forwards, not in an exaggerated way, but just enough so that your spine stacks up nice and tall. And so you do what you need to do in your pelvis to get that to happen. If you've got any pains with your pelvis, you might actually find sitting with the legs out straight is nicer, or sitting with the feet together. So again, you can choose which position you put the legs into to make it work for you. And then once you've got yourself comfortable, just closing your eyes and just centering and settling yourself down into stillness. So feeling the support of the ground beneath you. And then allowing yourself to settle down into that support. And just take a moment to move your awareness around your body. And as you move your mind around every part of you, you can start at your toes and gradually take your awareness all the way through your body. And just noticing what you find. So being aware of any parts of your body where you feel there are changes. And these may be pregnancy related, or they may just be generally related. And once you've moved your awareness all the way through your own body, just let your attention shift down into your baby, or your babies. And just take a moment to connect down into your belly. And again, just being aware of your experiences at this point in time. So there may be an experience of stillness if your babies are resting. Or there may be some movement. You might feel some stretching, some moving around. Maybe even some kicking. Just feel a connection, physically, energetically, emotionally, down into that nurturing space where you are growing these new lives. And then turning your awareness to your breath. And just begin by being aware of the sensation of your breath as it moves in through your nostrils. And just be aware of the sensation of your breath as it moves out of your nostrils. And then focusing in on your breath. And notice how easy or difficult it is. So when you're pregnant, it's probably one of the hardest times that you will find to be able to breathe deeply for a number of reasons. Sometimes the nose is blocked, so nasal congestion is very common. Sometimes it's just to towards the end of your pregnancy where you have no room for the diaphragm, no room for the ribs, no room for the lungs. Sometimes it's the chemical imbalance of having less red blood cells, less hemoglobin, as your blood becomes thinner so that it can go further and feed your baby's circulatory system as well. So we lose some of the oxygen carrying capacity of our blood. So it can be something like that. So just notice, how does your breathing feel right now? Then we're going to work through each of the different birthing breaths that I've found quite useful to teach to women over the many, many years that I've been doing this. But I would say the most important thing to remember during labour is to breathe. So whichever technique you decide on, whichever technique feels more comfortable for you, the most important thing is that you remember to breathe. And it's very common actually for women to hold their breath during labour, particularly during contractions, because it's quite a common thing for us to do is to hold our breath if a painful sensation arises. So if you're thinking, if you trap your fingers in the drawer, or you hit yourself with a hammer, or you bang your knee, the first thing we do is to hold our breath. But actually in labour that isn't going to be any use. You actually need to have a constant supply of breath, and particularly long exhalations. These are going to help you to relax your body and your mind, to release any tension, and also to allow the contractions to do their job. It also keeps the oxygen flowing to your muscles, and remember that your biggest muscle in your body, the one that you'll be working with the most, is your uterus. So this is considered to be a muscle. It has a muscular action. And also your baby. So you want to have an adequate supply of breath. So the first one we're going to work with is the ha breath. So for this one, you just naturally breathe in through your nose, as you have been doing. And then as you breathe out, you're going to whisper the ha sound. So just keep that going for the next few breaths. It's very similar to the sound we make if we're trying to clear a smear on our glasses or on a window. So what I want you to feel is this restriction around your throat. So you should be able to feel your throat gently contracting as you make that sound, just on the exhalation. You can also consider it to be a silent roar. So that brings with it the quality of this mother lion or the mother tiger, and all of the power and energy that comes with this. So it creates a sense of power and strength. And it's also invigorating and energizing. So just take 2 more of these breaths and see if you can feel these qualities of invigoration and enlivenment. And then when you finish that last one, you can just rest the breath back into a natural rhythm, so no need to do anything with the breath now, but just feel the quality. What's happening now in your body, in your mind, in your breath. Notice if there are any changes. And then for the next breath, we're going to begin from the point where we've just ended. We're going to work with the ocean breath, which is kind of a quieter version of the ha breath, and we do this with the mouth closed. But the easiest way to get into that is to actually start with one ha breath and then kind of morph it into this ocean breath. So I'm going to ask you to start an exhale with the ha breath as you have just done, and then halfway through that ha breath, just close your mouth, and then it just becomes a throat breath, and the air is coming out through the nose. And sometimes the ha sound disappears, the throat breath disappears on the way out as soon as you close your mouth. So the only thing I would suggest is just focus on making the ha sound on the out breath, and don't even think about closing the mouth, but just let it happen. And then what you'll find is you can comfortably create this inner ha breath. And once you can do that all the way through an out breath, so you don't have to do the half open, half closed technique once you've got it. And once you've got it and it's just rolling through the out breath, just keep it there for the in breath as well. So the whole thing becomes a cycle of this throat breath, which mimics the sound of the ocean. And if you find that you aren't making this throat sound, or if it disappears, if you lose it, then just go back to the externalized exhale breath and start from there again, and just kind of place that sound in the throat and then gently close the mouth. So just carry on a few more rounds of your ocean breath. Tuning into the quality of this breath. So this has the dual qualities of maintaining that powerful, energizing, kind of mother lion attribute that the ha breath has, but also at the same time it's incredibly soothing. So because it has this oceanic lull to it, it has the quality of being able to bring calmness into your mind as well, which I think is a great balancing quality. You have energy, power, invigoration, courage and strength on the one hand, and then on the other hand, you're calm, you're quiet, you're relaxed. And these are the two qualities really that we need in birth and for raising children afterwards. So just see if you can find these dual qualities. And just take one more ocean breath. And then once you finish, just relaxing your breath, letting it find its own natural rhythm. And again, just tapping into what you are experiencing, what are you feeling as a result of that breath. So again, by just spending that little bit of time listening and feeling into the breath, it will help you to understand a little bit more about the qualities of each one, and also hopefully help you to decide when you are in labour which of these breaths are going to be the ones that are going to help you. Okay, so let's have a little stretch before we move on. So if you want to, you can lean away from the wall a little bit, so you can lean back and stretch through the front of your body, and then just stretch your legs out in front, and just start with some toe wiggles. Stretching into your toes, and then spreading your toes wide and then letting go. Do that a couple of times, spreading and releasing. And then pressing your toes away from you and then pulling your toes towards you. And stretching into legs. And then rotating the ankles round. and then rotating them the other way. And then going a little bit deeper into the legs, so roll, take the legs a little bit wider so you've got some space, and then roll your big toes in towards each other. And then roll the little toes out. And then same again, roll the big toes in and the little toes out. So this gives the hip a little bit of a workout, so you've got a good stretch, internal and external rotation in your hip socket. Notice if one feels harder than the other. So quite often I've noticed in all of the years that I've done yoga that most people are either good at internal rotation or external rotation. So one of these moves will feel easier than the other. Unless you did a lot of ballet when you were younger, and then you will know you spent a lifetime working on your sort of turnout, as they call it. Did anybody do ballet? I thought, yeah. Now watch Catherine. Have a look at Catherine's turnout. Look at that, I mean, it's just bonkers, isn't it? So I did think that when I saw your feet, I'm like, what did happen? Some people are just naturally flexible, but actually people with a good turnout like that have usually done a lot of yoga. Anybody else? Sorry, a lot of ballet. Any other ballet?
Just a very small bit when I was younger, yeah.
Do adult ballet now, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're going to work a bit higher up into the hips, and now bending the knees up, still having your feet quite wide, and then you're going to drop both knees over to one side. And if that hip comes up, that's fine. If that buttock comes up off the floor, because now we're getting deeper into the side here, and this is often quite a tight part in the body. So hip flexor, iliotibial band, and these outer muscles in the buttock and the thigh. And then bring them up and then go to the other side. And you might notice one side is worse than the other, and that's because we aren't symmetrical. We don't do anything in perfect symmetry, and so when we come to stretch our body out, quite often we find that one side is very different to the other. And just do it a couple more times, so dropping to one side. So the wider the feet are, the bigger the stretch in the hip. If you have your feet close together, then it just becomes a lower back stretch. But when the feet are wide and one knee drops inside the other, you can really get deep into these hip flexor muscles. Okay, and then just coming back into a comfortable position. So whatever that seated position is for you that feels good. And then just coming back into stillness. And then we're going to work with some of the more calming breaths. So this next one, straw breath. Very straightforward breath, kind of does what it says on the tin. So you just breathe in naturally through the nose, and then on the out breath you make a little circle with your mouth as if you were whistling, or as if you have a straw in between your lips, and you just blow the breath out gently. And then you just carry on in that same way. So you inhale through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth with the lips pursed into a circle, as if you were whistling or if you have a straw inside the mouth. So this again makes the out breath very long. So all of the breaths that we focus on for birth are all designed to lengthen the out breath. But over and above that, what they also do is that they give you control over yourself. So one of the things that tends to happen in labour is that it's an experience that you have where you have no control over what's happening. You can't change it, you can't make it start on its own, you can't make it finish on its own, it's just going to happen. And all of the intense sensations that are happening again are out of your control for the most part. And that consequently leads to certain states of anxiety, panic, because we feel like we're losing control. When we work with our breath, we still have something that we're in control of. So whichever breath technique you use, the fact of just working with your breath in this way and having something that is yours, that you are controlling, can completely change the mental landscape of your labour. In addition to that, when we focus on our breathing, it creates a very mindful state. And this is why in all of the kind of mindful traditions like yoga and Buddhist meditations, they do so much work with their breath. And the breath is the key thing to connect us deep into that quiet part of the mind. And you might be starting to feel that already. Apart from the discomfort of having to sit still, you might start to be feeling these mindful qualities arising just by following the breath. So you're just going to carry on with this soothing and calming straw breath, just a few more. So breathing in through the nose, blowing the breath out through the mouth. And then in addition to that, you can also use the straw technique on the in-breath. It creates a slight cooling technique. So if you find that you're getting quite hot during your time in labour, then actually making this little pursed lip inhalation can create a little bit of a cooling effect as well. So you can try that, have a few rounds of breathing in through pursed lips as well, rather than breathing in through the nose. And for some of you it may really suit you, it might really resonate, and for others you might not like it. So again, this is about finding out the techniques that feel comfortable for you. So just take 2 more breaths, maybe exploring the inhale straw and the exhale straw. And then when you finish that last breath, just relaxing it, but also tapping in again to the quality of that breath, noticing how it feels, what feels different now. Does the mind feel slower, smoother, ironed out? Okay, so we'll just bring a little bit of movement into our final breath exploration. So I'm going to give you a couple of options. If you've got any pelvic issues and you want to stay with the legs straight, then that's absolutely fine. What you could do is actually do some work while you're there. I don't have an extra brick. Do you have a brick or a block or anything? No, it's to put between the legs. So one of the things to do quite a lot now is to place something between your thighs and grip. Unfortunately, mine's under the camera. So will that work? Yeah. So basically you just want something to push against. I'll tell you what, see up there, the green thing? I'll get it because I know you're saying that getting up and down is a joy at the moment. So I'm just thinking that, yeah.
Thank you.
So you want it kind of there, not even Okay, that wasn't good enough. That might be. Oh no, that's better. Yeah. So basically, something hard like that that gives resistance. And can you feel what's happening? So when you squeeze something between the thighs, it works these adductor muscles. Now the adductor muscles are 2 of the main muscles that are supporting the pubic area, the symphysis pubis. And so this gripping the thigh is a really big part of the movements we do to alleviate SPD, but also to help to fix it if it's already started, if it's already happened. So that can be something that you want to do. If you're feeling that you need a little bit of support for the symphysis pubis, you can do some gripping. If you've got the other problem, which is the hips are too tight and you're feeling a bit stiff in the hips, then what you can do is bring the soles of your feet together instead. Take the knees out and you can do some work from here. So that's your other option to do this. And if you haven't got either of those, you just want to stay cross-legged, then you're very welcome to stay cross-legged, but can you swap the legs the other way so that you are stretching the opposite side of your hips? So any of those seated positions is fine. And then what we're going to do is just take the arms out to the side on the inhale, and then on the exhale, I'm going to just pour them down through the centre. Okay, now the breath we're going to do for this one as our final expiration, and this is B breath, the humming breath. And again, this is incredibly soothing, and this is the one that I've mentioned before as being quite useful for your baby as well. So this is very calming and soothing for you. Again, it gives you a really long exhale, which is what we're looking for, but it's also a vibratory practice. And you might find that your baby wakes up a little bit when you start to do this, but it's also, I think, very soothing for baby during labour as well, particularly if you've been doing it regularly in your pregnancy. It's like a soothing blanket of sound for your baby while they go through the process of labour as well. So it's basically just humming on the out breath. That's what it is, B breath. So when you're ready, breathing in, taking the arms out, and pouring them down the centre. Just do two more. You can just bring the legs into a comfortable position. And just noticing how that feels as sitting in the afterglow of that B breath, and noticing the resonance that it creates, and noticing how it feels mentally, energetically, physically. Notice how your baby responds. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I think it is, just getting them in isolation, so it'll make more sense now, but also just to give you that perspective of actually, you know, did some of them feel better than others? Did you kind of feel, oh yeah, I like that one, or don't like that one? Yeah. But also understanding all the different energetic qualities, because actually some of them will be useful at different times in labour. If your energy starts to flag, then you're going to need the Ha breath or the Ujjayi breath to bring more energy. If you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, then you need a B breath or a straw breath. You know, so it kind of knowing the different qualities of those breaths will help you to find one that you need at any given time. So it kind of even goes beyond what you like. It's like, what do you need? That's the more important thing. Okay, so let's crack on. We're going to do a little sequence as I've been sitting for quite some time. And then we'll have a look at some pelvic floor stuff and some work with the straps. Okay, that's quite a lot to fit in 40 minutes. So, could you come towards the end, the bottom end of your mat, and I'm just going to do a little bit of work coming up and then coming back down. So, so you want to come to the back end of your mat because we're going to kind of go forwards from here. Otherwise, you'll end up in the middle of the room. So, from this kneeling position, we're going to use our pelvic floor muscles to push ourselves up. We're also going to use the shins. So, as you breathe in, push into the shins, squeeze your pelvic floor muscles, and rise all the way up. And you can also grip your thigh muscles together. And then on the out breath, come and sit back down. Now, there's a way of doing this. So the easy way is just to stick your bottom back, which is what most of us will do. If you want to work your thighs a bit more, you stay upright. And then the thighs have to really work. It's a bit rough on the knees. If you've got any knee injuries or knee issues, you might want to kind of modify that. But try and stay as upright as you can. Okay, so when you're ready, breathing in, push into the shins, engage the pelvic floor, rise all the way up. And then breathing out, staying as upright as you can so that you can feel those thighs burning as you come and sit back down. Oh, you have to tell me your face as you're doing it. Same again, push into the shins, rise up. And then coming back down. Again, lots of knee clicking. Okay, and then from here, just slide your hands forwards so that you come up onto your hands and onto your knees. So, bread and butter pose, coming back onto your heels, so take the knees wide, so you've got space for your babies. And then on the out breath, tuck your tailbone under, arch the spine to the ceiling. And then gently ease back onto heels, but keep the back round. So you can keep the tailbone tucked under. So Sam, tilt the pelvis the other way, tuck it that way. Yeah, that's it, and then go back. Can you feel the stretch in your back now?
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we're pulling the lumbar spine open, which actually when you're pregnant, it gets really compressed. So this is a counter pose to pregnancy where your lower back gets pulled forwards all the time. And then to come up off the floor, we're going to push into the shins again. So as you breathe in, push into the shins, engage the pelvic floor muscles, and you kind of rise up effortlessly. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone under, round the back. Keep the back round as you ease all the way back onto the hips. And then breathing in, pushing into the shins, rising all the way up. And last time, roll the spine, tuck the tailbone under, ease back onto heels. And then inhaling, pushing into the shins, rising all the way back up. Now bringing the knees back into a fairly neutral position, not too close together. We're going to press back into downward facing dog. However, if this gives you heartburn, or if you've got shoulder or wrist injuries, then you just don't want to do it, you know, if you're having twins, you might not want to do it, then you can carry on with the rolling back. If you found that was quite nice for your back, then you can just continue with that. If you're going to do the downward dog, tuck your toes under, and then take your hands one hand length further forwards. Push into the heels of your hands, take the bottom backwards, and then keep pushing into your hands as the tailbone rises up to the ceiling. And then from here, you're just going to press one heel to the ground, then the other heel to the ground. And you want to get the weight going backwards, so you don't want the weight in your hands. So push your bottom backwards towards the wall behind you. And then breathing in, bringing the knees all the way back down. And then keep the toes tucked under this time. You can widen the knees a little bit. Take the hips back onto your heels, but with your toes tucked under. It's a slightly different stretch. And actually it gets more into the shoulders. So you might want to take the arms a bit wider. And then push into the toes. turn, come up. Keep the toes tucked under, bring the knees back to neutral. Walk your hands back to your knees. Lift your knees off the floor. Drop the heels. And then slowly uncurl. And come all the way up. And then just come into the middle of your mat, or a little bit further forward if you want to. So just going to do a little bit of side bending. So as you breathe in, push the feet into the ground. And gently take the arms all the way up over the head, and then just take hold of one wrist. And then pull gently that wrist over to the opposite side as you breathe out. And then as you breathe in, push that foot into the floor. So whichever side you went on to, push the foot into the floor, and that'll help you rise up. Swap your hands, breathe out to the other side. And then to come up, push that foot into the ground. So see how easy it is when you actually push into the foot. Just do that once more on each side. So using the ground underneath your feet. And then releasing, coming all the way down. Then we're going to come up onto our toes. So breathing in, rise up onto your toes and let the arms sweep out to the side. And then breathing out, easing all the way down. So there's a couple of breaths that can help you if your balance is a little wobbly, and that is the straw breath or the ujjayi breath. Ocean breath. Ujjayi is the Sanskrit name. So using one of those breaths, if it helps you, just gives you more control. Again, the more control you have over your breath, the more control you have over your mind. Just do that one more time. So from here, you're going to take the right foot and wrap it around the left leg. And you want to bend the left leg a little bit, so you're kind of really binding the legs around. So if you keep the, if you come back on the sideways, you can see it better. If you keep that left leg straight, you end up with a bit of a gap. You see what happens? If I bend my knee, I can really make it one leg. It's like one twisted root. And then you lose your balance. But you're going to keep the ball of the foot on the floor and keep gripping the thighs together. So again, this is a really good one for pelvic strength. So keeping the thighs gripping in towards each other, and hopefully you can feel the muscles around the symphysis pubis having a really good go at engaging. And then taking the arms out to the side. We've got the right leg on top, so just going to set the right arm up and the left arm down. So push the palm of the right hand up to the ceiling, and then the left hand comes down. So very reminiscent of these Kathakali dances. Keep the elbows soft. And then release the hands down. And then we're going to change this slightly. So we're going to bring we've got a couple of options. So the option, if you're comfortable with the balance, is to actually place the right foot on top of the left foot, or you keep it to the outside, but you're not binding it so much anymore. You can keep the left leg straight and you want the knee to point forwards. So it depends how good you feel with your balance. So either right toes to the outside or balancing on the foot, but the knee comes forward now. So this is the balancing crane move. So I'll come sideways so you can see. So we start off inhaling, press down through the left foot and almost rise up from that left foot. And then you bring the palms of your hands together. And then on the out breath, you fold forwards. And there's going to come a point where you can't fold forwards anymore. It's usually by the time your baby reaches your thigh. So you stop rotating, but you continue to stretch the arms down because we want to get into the shoulders. So even if you finished the forward bend. Keep stretching your fingertips down towards the floor, and as you stretch your fingertips, you'll feel your shoulder blades being pulled away from each other. And then we come up on an in-breath. So you bend the standing knee, the left leg, a little bit more. You float your arms out to the sides, and then you push into your left foot, and almost like using that action from the left foot to rise all the way up. And then on the out breath, bring the hands back down into the heart. And we're just going to carry on in that same way. So you're breathing in, taking the arms up and out. And then breathing out, folding forwards. And again, once you get towards the floor, stretch the fingertips down. So you can take a couple of breaths here, really getting into the shoulder stretch. So drawing the fingertips as much towards the floor as you can. And then when you want to come up, bend the left knee a bit more, sweep your arms out to the sides, then push the left foot into the ground and use that kind of rebound action from the earth to rise up. And then breathe out. And we're going to do that one more time. So we're going to breathe in, take the arms up and out to the sides. Keep them together, and then breathing out, come forwards. Stretch the fingertips down towards the floor. Maybe take a couple of breaths here, just really enjoying the stretch in the back and the shoulders. And then when you're ready, bend the knees, take the arms out to the side, push the foot into the ground, rise up, and then bring the hands all the way down. Now I'm just going to step onto my mat, because from here, keep the legs where they are. We are going to stretch them back. So from here, you can just now step the right foot back. So the left leg's at the front, so it's all happening on the right leg. And then you're just going to find a comfortable position. You want your feet about hip width apart, or even wider if that helps with your balance. The back leg is going to be straight, and we're going to straighten the front leg intermittently. So you kind of want to go from bent knee to straight knee, but you don't want the knee to go over, so you don't want to be in this position. So when you come into your deepest lunge forwards, the knee should only go as far as the ankle, not beyond it. So you might want more stretch in the back, so you want to take the back foot back a little bit, just so that you can keep that knee in its position. And then we're going to take the arms back behind and interlace the hands and squeeze the shoulders. So again, a lot of work on the shoulders in this pose. So working with straw breath. So on an inhale, straighten the front leg. And then on an out breath, just draw the hips backwards. And you can soften the front knee if you find that the hamstrings will behave a little bit easier. And then inhaling, raise the arms a little bit more so you get a bit more out of your shoulders. And then on the out breath, bend the front knee, push into the left foot again and rise up. So we're still using that left foot as a rebound action. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Exhale, fold forwards, draw the hips back. And soften the front knee if you need to. Inhale, raise the arms a little higher. And then breathe out, bend the front knee, push into the left foot. Use the ground to rise up. And then same thing again, inhaling, straighten knee. Exhale, fold, just drawing the hips back. And then inhaling, raising the arms if you feel that's comfortable. And then bend the knee, rise all the way up. So just a little note on when you interlace the fingers behind you, it's something that happens actually in a lot of classes. So we want them to be sort of palms facing inwards, because what we're trying to do is externally rotate the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together. So that's what the action is. So if you've done this, it's doing the opposite. So if you were doing that and it was feeling a bit awkward, that was why. So if you turn the palms the other way, it feels much different. You get much more of a stretch across the front of the body. Okay, so from here, you're going to step sort of swivel the feet wide. So if you would have been facing the back of the room, yeah, just swivel the other. No, if you would have, you were right. I see. If you were facing face forwards, yeah. So you might not. You might just swivel and then swivel again. So Sam, turn around. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, perfect. You were absolutely right first time. In fact, if I just kept my mouth shut, you'd have been fine. So we're just going to do a little bit of shoulder rolling here. So you can find a comfortable position with the feet, however that is. And just roll one shoulder up and back and down. Roll the other shoulder up, back and down. Notice what you find, what you can hear. So if you think your shoulders are bad now, wait until you're holding a baby there 23 hours a day. And one on each side. I do recommend baby wearing, actually. It's become a really big thing now. You can actually go to sling libraries and they'll help you to find a sling that fits your body shape and one that you feel comfortable with, and they rent them to you. They're absolutely brilliant because you can spend a fortune buying a sling and then you might not like it and then you never use it. But actually, you know, if you get some professional guidance, and there are quite a few, there were, I mean, let's say it's 2 years since I've been doing all of this, so I don't know what's still out there really. So now we're going to change it a little bit. Bring one hand on top of the other. We can make this a bigger move. So you're going to bring that hand, as the shoulder rolls, the hand goes under and then back over. So we're kind of moving the hands. Yeah, so yeah, I carried my son. My son had reflux, which is not very nice. And they need to be upright when they have reflux. And so I wore my son all the time. And it really helped with the reflux, so they do not need to be lying down. And actually, a lot of traditional cultures carry their babies, you know, until they can walk. And it's actually really good for them, really good to hear mum's heartbeat. You know, you get very content, confident babies if they are close to mum. Okay, so now you're just going to keep one hand, doesn't matter which one. You're going to shift your weight over to one side. So talk about kind of rocking babies, rocking baby move. But you're going to get the elbow to come up, so you're stretching into the shoulder, and then bend the knees, swoop down the centre, up the other side, and lift the elbow. And just do the same thing again. So coming from side to side. So lifting the elbow. Back to the centre. And then it might be easy to bring the heels in, bring the toes in, so you come all the way back to the centre. And then we're going to do just a little bit of jiggling. So this is a technique that we use in yoga. It's called rebounding. And it's a way of kind of shaking off all the cells in the body to get rid of any tension. And we do it quite vigorously, but you're not going to do it quite so vigorously. We just want to get a little kind of shimmy through the legs, so just lightly bouncing the heels up and down. And you might feel the hips and the belly and the butt shimmering and shaking as well. It's quite a good way of just kind of getting rid of, you might want to do the shoulders and the arms as well. Just kind of jiggles all the cells around so there's no tension left in the body anywhere. And then just coming into stillness afterwards. Notice how that feels. It's quite a nice little technique. So stepping back to the front of your space, and then we're going to do those moves on the other side. So just step back to the front of your mat, wherever that is. I'm going to stay facing you for the moment. And then we're going to take the left leg over the right this time. So the ball of the left foot stays on the ground. The right knee bends a little bit so that you can bind the legs around each other and then grip them together. So you feel the strength moving up into the pelvis. So we're going to use our Ha breath. We're going to breathe in. keeping the legs where they are, or you can go into the stronger balance of placing the left foot on top of your right foot if you really want to challenge your balance, having the knee pointed forward, so the front knee can straighten a little bit more now so that you're standing upright rather than binding. This time on the inhale, take the arms all the way up over the head and then bring the palms of your hands together for the crane, balancing crane, and then on the exhale, folding forwards again and just going as far as you can. Even when you can't rotate anymore, just lengthen the fingertips down towards the floor. Take a breath here so that you can really stretch the shoulder blades away from each other. And then breathing in, bend the knees a little bit more. Take the arms out to the sides. Push your right foot into the floor. And rise up. And then as you breathe out, you can just bring your hands back down into your heart space. We're going to do the same thing again, but using that ocean breath. And notice if it feels different when you use these breaths with your movement. So this is the throat breath, ocean breath. Same thing again. Breathe in. Palms come together and then breathe out and fold. And then continue to stretch the fingertips further down towards the ground so that you can feel the length. And breathe in, rise up when you're ready. And then back down. And then one more time. Just going at your own pace, using that restricted breath in the throat. Noticing if your shoulders are getting a little bit looser. And then this time from the front of your mat, you're going to step the left foot back. So unwind the left foot and then step it back. So now you're in the a long warrior pose. Again, you can have the hips as wide as you like, the feet as wide as you like. You want to bend the right knee, but again, if you go beyond it, you'll need to take the left leg back. So that when you bend that front knee, you don't want to go beyond the upright position. And then make sure that your hips are fairly level. So you don't want the left hip to be too far back. You want it to be fairly level with the right hip. And then interlace the hands behind your back. See how that feels. Breathe in. And then as you breathe out, just lengthen the two sitting bones backwards. You're creating a forward bend, but only by taking the hips back. As you breathe in, just lengthen the arms up over the head if that feels comfortable. And then on the out breath, bend the right knee, push into the foot and rise all the way up. And on the inhale, straighten away. And then on the exhale, draw the hips backwards again, so keep lengthening the hips away from you. Inhaling, the arms can rise up a little higher. On the out breath, bend the right knee and push the foot away, so using the ground to rise up. And then inhaling. And then one more time, so breathe out, draw the hips backwards. Inhale, lift the arms. Bend the knee, push it into the ground, rise up. And inhale, release. Then relax the arms. Turn the feet back to the center. And then just a nice freestyle movement, just shifting the weight from side to side. And then just coming back to the center, bringing the toes in, bringing the heels in. A few more times. And then maybe having a little jiggle, a little rebound here again. So if you feel that your pelvis kind of isn't supporting you very well anymore, and particularly if you're struggling to get up and down, then one of the things it might be is a lack of strength in the buttocks and a lack of strength in the thighs. What is the best thing for that?
Squat.
Squatting. Yeah, and unfortunately, you kind of the things that you don't like to do, and that's why the muscles are weak, because we don't, And I'm the same. My back is really strong, and so I would do this all the live long day. I'd rather use my back because my back is really strong. My buttocks are really weak; they barely engage. And so for me, squatting, I had to really learn to squat. So we're going to do some squatting. Again, what you can do with the symphysis pubis foot dysfunction to add more strength is to use something between the thighs. You've got something to grip. This is obviously a little bit too thin, but something that will give you just a little bit of pressure so that you can actually work. Because when we're squatting, we're using the glutes and the thighs, but when you press in as well, you're using the adductor muscles as well. So you've got an added little bit of something happening. So you want the legs together, or as far as they go, if you're gripping something between the thighs. And when we come up and down, we don't want to tip the spine forwards. So in the gym, sometimes they do these ones, don't they? They're back squats. You're just working your back. So if you do this at the gym over and over again, you're not doing anything with your thighs or your buttocks. Whereas this is another story. Okay, so inhale, take the arms up. And then use a hard breath. Inhale, rise up. And then exhale, lower the arms. So again, using that really powerful breath can sometimes help. Same again. Inhale. Okay, keep going. So there may be a slight forward movement. So again, you can stay perfectly upright, but you might not get very far. But if you come slightly forwards, but not all the way, you can really feel your thighs and your buttocks working. And particularly if you push into the feet on your way back up, you can feel everything working. Can you feel that? One more time. Cool, that's got some heat going, hasn't it? And then a bit of jiggling. Again. Okay, so from here we're just going to curl down. So just round back, softening and folding. So you might want to have a little dangle here. It's quite nice. Dangling. And then you can just walk your hands forwards until you come onto your knees. And then from there you can just swivel the legs around. And come into a comfortable seated position. So that could be a number of things. Again, if you do, sometimes with any sort of pelvic pain, sitting cross-legged can be uncomfortable. So if you find sitting cross-legged is uncomfortable, kneeling is a good option. However, you get pins and needles quite quickly. So you want to have something, and again, I think I'm going to bring more of my blocks next week, but these bricks that's under the camera are the right size, but you could just have a cushion instead. And what you would do is you would put that between your thighs and your calf muscles, because what you want to do is restrict the amount of pressure going through your calf muscles, or you might want to put it under the buttocks. If that feels a little easy. So you kind of find the best place where it's not making too much restriction. Okay, and then we are going to work with our straps. So if you want to grab your belt, your strap, your dressing gown cord. Sorry? Didn't bring the strap. Okay, even the WhatsApp group? No. It's quite useful because and you weren't here last week, so you've missed 2 opportunities. I'll give you mine, so I'll just show what's happening. So you're going to need to come away from the wall. So I'm sorry, those of you that just snuggled in, nice and comfortably, because what we're going to do, this is a really good stretch for the pectoral muscles. And it's this muscle group here that exacerbate this rounding of the upper back that cause so many problems in our modern day life, where we get these pains in our neck and the upper back. It's because we round here, and then these muscles get short. And so what we need to do is lengthen these muscles and kind of get back into this sort of a position where everything feels freer. So it might feel quite tight to begin with. So you take the strap, and you don't know where the ideal hand placement is the first couple of rounds. You kind of have to play around with it. You want to keep the arms straight, and then what you're going to do is keep the strap horizontal and slowly take it back. Now for me, I can only get it to there. So what people tend to do is then they do that, which is cheating, because now I'm not working my pectoral muscles at all, I'm just cheating. What I need to do is take the strap wider. And then I can keep the strap horizontal, keep my arms straight, and you get a really nice stretch that makes your face go as you take it back. Yeah, that's the face. So I always call this sucking a lemon face. So if people look like they're sucking a lemon, it means you've got the stretch. But it's lovely when it stops, and actually, it's what you're doing, it's agony because the muscles are tight. So it's, you know, it's actually a good one to do. What you could do if it's really, really, really tight is just go a millimetre wider. And then after a few rounds, I'm sorry, you need the strap, don't you?
I don't think I can do it anyway.
Oh, have you got an injury?
I dislocated my shoulder a few years ago, so I've learned it.
Okay. So as it gets easier, you can walk your hands in, but just go a millimetre, because even a millimetre makes a difference. And then you go back to the sucking the lemon face. So as soon as you don't have sucky lemon face, you make the hands a little bit wider. It's getting looser though. Your face isn't sucking lemons
I'm getting
anymore.
better, but getting back up's not the one.
And every time it gets a little easier, you take the strap a little closer together. I'm just thinking what you can do.
I was just told never to extend that direction ever again.
Ever again, ever.
I don't think we could deal with that.
No, you don't need to dislocate your shoulder with a baby on the way. Okay, is that all getting a bit looser every time you change it? Okay, and then. See, when you stop now, notice what that, it just, the space here is amazing. It's surprising actually how much tension we hold here, and we don't realise until we do this horrible stretch, and we stretch it out, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything's looser and it all sits better. So, and then you can breathe better as well, so you might find the breath can move into these spaces as well. So sometimes, you know, they're horrible stretches, but they really serve a purpose. So if you do suffer with this upper back niggle, I would do this every week. Do it sort of once a week, and then get used to doing it, because I'm telling you now, you will need to do this daily when your baby comes. I'm really selling this having a baby. Okay, so we'll just finish off using the strap for a leg stretch, and then you can come into lying down from that position. So I'll just show you the 2 leg stretches we're going to do, and then I can give you my strap, because you're all right with the leg. You can either, I mean, if you've got a yoga belt, then you just make a little hook. I think yours will do that because they've got little things on. If not, if you've got something that doesn't have a hook on, then you can just put it over like that. So we're going to start just kind of exploring a leg stretch here and see how that goes. And then we're going to take the leg that way, but we're not going to tip the hip over. So the best thing to do is to take this bent knee the other way to provide a counterbalance
And you're just going to stretch the inner thigh. Now again, if you've got symphysis pubis, this might not feel comfortable. So with SPD, it manifests in different ways. Some people can't take their legs wide, and some people can't lunge, and it's usually one or the other. So I'll leave it to you to decide whether that feels comfortable or not. If it doesn't feel comfortable, you don't do it. And then we're going to change over and do it the other way. So we swap the hand over and then we cross the legs this way. So this is a good one for SPD, and it's also a good one for this outer leg stretch as well. So you get a really strong stretch through the leg. We're just going to do that a couple of times, then you can bring it in and then do the same again. Okay? When you come down, what you could do, you might have a little clamshell before we're done. Just have everything near you, like socks, blanket, hoodie, so that you don't have to kind of do all of that once we stop. Blanket, pillows. So basically get your nest ready, and then you can kind of just melt it. We won't have a very long relaxation today because we did quite a lot of breath work at the beginning. So, coming and lying on your back, so again we won't be there for too long. So starting with your right leg, come and lie down first, have both knees bent, and actually if your back feels a bit yucky then you might want to do some little rolls around first, so just massaging into your
You've broken my leg. It's nice to lie on your back.
Yeah, lying on your back is fine momentarily. You know, we get very fearful, don't we? You mustn't ever lie on your back, mustn't ever lie on your side, but actually for a little bit it's fine. So you mustn't ever lie on your left side. So once you've done that, place both feet on the floor, and then bring the right leg up and place your strap round the right leg, wherever you can reach it. And just have a little explore. So what's your hamstring like? Can you bring that leg a little bit closer? Does your hamstring feel okay here? What's happening? So the ideal thing I would say is to walk your hands as far up the strap as you can. If you have the hands down here, it just all becomes a little tight in the shoulder. So extend your arms as far up as you can. And if you've got, if you're holding with two hands, have one either side. Don't put them like that because it's not very nice for the shoulders. So now what we're going to do is take the legs over to the right, take the leg over to the right. So very slowly take that leg over to the right and drop the left knee out to the left side. So you've got a little bit of a counterbalance. The knees are coming wide. And just notice how that feels. And then slowly bring the leg back to the centre. And then you swap your hands over. So now you just need to hold the strap with your left hand. And you're going to bring the leg over towards the left. But it won't go very far, mostly because you've got a baby in the way. But also because that's quite a tight stretch. So you don't want the hip to come off the floor. You want to keep the right buttock on the floor. And you cross the left knee over towards the right. So if, you know when you need the toilet, that kind of crossing the legs movement. Can you feel that stretch in the outside of your right leg? Yeah. It's an eye waterer, isn't it? But we don't often stretch this side of the muscles and this side of the leg, so it's quite nice. And then bring it back to the centre, and then bring the leg a little closer. And see if you get a bit more out of your hamstring. And then relax. And then you might just want to do this kind of rebounding again, so jiggling the feet up and down, jiggling and wobbling the hips. And then doing the same on the other side. So taking the strap now around the left leg. And then walking the hands as high up the strap as you feel comfortable. And then just have a little play here, so just explore your left hamstring. How does it feel?
And is it different to the right one? So often when we do these stretches, as I said earlier, we find we're not symmetrical. And then just hold the strap with your left hand, and then take this leg over to the left and take the right knee out to the right. Go slowly so that you can really maintain the connection of the pelvis to the floor. And then gently bring it all the way back. And then swapping over your hand, and then taking the leg over towards the right side and crossing the right knee across towards the left. So the legs are kind of crossing, meeting in the middle. So you're feeling the stretch now on the outside of the leg. We're making sure the left buttock doesn't come off the floor. So keep the buttock on the floor, otherwise you don't get the stretch in the hip. Again, you don't move very far with this one, but it's a very strong stretch. I can tell by some of the sounds that I'm hearing that you're getting the stretch. And then bring it back to the centre. And then draw it in a little bit closer towards you. Again, just working into the hamstring. And then you can release. Bring the leg down, and again, maybe just a little stamping of the feet up and down, maybe the jiggling of the legs, maybe a jiggle of the hips.
Are any of these exercises good if you get restless legs? Because that is the bane of my life, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't have it in pregnancy, but it was an absolute nightmare when I went through menopause. And same thing, hormones. And I keep saying to this, you think it's bad now, you wait, you get all this and then some. When you go, out of the fertility. So it's a joy being a woman, it really is. And what I used to do, because I used to get it before I went to bed, so I'd have a walk. I mean, it was, about 10 o'clock at night, and I'd have a walk. So you just need to discharge the energy out of the legs. So you might find on a Monday night you don't get it because we've done quite a lot of work on the legs. But every other night you might have to go and have a walk. Have a wander. I mean, if you can't, again, it's difficult walking on your own. And so what I would say, if you can't take your partner with you because maybe you have other children at home, then walk around your garden or walk around your house, go up and down the stairs. You've just got to do something. And like I said, that one might do it, some standing poses, those warrior poses. That's what I found. Sometimes, I mean, you can't run when you're pregnant. Well, not in late pregnancy anyway. But I would run as well. I'd just have a 10-minute run around the block just to shove all this energy out of the legs. It is a horrible thing because you cannot sleep. I just twitch and twitch all night. Your legs you just want to tear your legs off.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll literally have a 5-minute lie down. So find a position that you are comfortable in. So that can be lying on your side. And if you're less than 20 weeks, then lying on your back.